Hello and welcome to the Align Week webinar. I'm so excited that you are here and I hope that you are ready to get aligned. Today, I want to talk to you about something that me, myself, am super passionate about, and that is making sure that we're creating a week that is aligned, a week that works for us. And so, if you know anything about me, I'm the type of person who's like, hey, if it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. Also, I'm someone who's very particular about doing work that is pointless, meaningless, that is time consuming, but doesn't. I'm like, I thrive off of productivity. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Okay. And so this webinar is going to be for you if you're desiring to maximize your time better. You want to get more structure in your day. You want to make sure that you have more time to focus on the things that matter most to you and your business. And so I'm not here to give you any fluff. I'm not here to take you around all the bushes and all the things. I'm not here to sugarcoat to you. I am literally here to give you practical strategies for deep work, for aligning your goals with your visions, with your day to day, for theme days, time blocking, and just making sure that everything that you do moves you closer to goal achievement, right? And so let's go. So I'm Ebony. If you do not know me, and trust me, I get it. When people talk about wearing multiple hats, when people talk about multitasking, when people talk about someone who's doing all of the things, listen, that is my daily life. I'm a believer. I'm a wife. I'm a mom of multiples and a boy mom at that. Yes, that's right. I'm a CEO, so I have my own business called the Empire Effect Agency, and I'm one of the ones who are still doing the work, right? Um, we just got to be real about it. I'm actually still doing the work in my business. I'm also an author. I'm an educator. And honestly, the list goes on. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. But here's the thing, y'all. I had to figure out how to make it all work for me, for my family dynamic, for my lifestyle, juggling all of these different hats. I had to figure out what works best for me and my family. Um, Without losing my peace, without becoming overstimulated, without burning out, right? And so the things that I'm going to talk to you about today, these aren't theories that I've read about. These aren't theories that I just heard someone talk about. These are actual strategies that I actually continuously implement in my life. I implement it with my children, with my husband, with ministry, all of the things. I use these strategies every single day to get real results, both in my personal life and in my business. And so now I'm on a journey to helping clients do the same thing to get results in their lives, to actually achieve their goals that they've set for themselves without making any excuses, without losing their time, and without losing their sanity. All right. So here's what we'll be talking about today. And I promise none of that fancy jargon, just practical stuff that's going to actually be able to be implemented, right, in your day-to-day life. And so I'm talking about implementing deep work. And deep work is simply when you focus really hard on one important thing without letting anything distract you. It's really that simple. And so when I finally began to implement this strategy in particular, one of the things that I was able to achieve was finish my book. Now, you have to know that this book, I was going on 3-4 years trying to start, essentially. So I had an outline and all of the things, but I just felt stuck, like paralyzed, and I could never make any progress on this book. I knew exactly what the book was going to be about. It was actually telling my story. So how hard is it to tell your own story, right? And so once I began to like hone down, and I literally would lock myself in my office room and I would just be like, okay, right now I'm only focusing on my book and that's it. And I would spend literally deep focused hours before the word deep work was even heard of, in my opinion, to myself. I didn't know anything about deep work as a concept. I just knew that I needed to focus. Okay. And so what did I do? I began to spend hours and hours in my office, and I would only write my book. And once I began to implement that principle without distractions and all of the things, what was taking me years and years to write, I literally finished writing the book. I completed everything and I edited it in less than 3 months, y'all. Less than 3 months. And I've heard stories where people get into deep work and they can finish their books in a week. They can finish it in 2 to 3 weeks, right? And so literally we're going to be talking about deep work. We're going to be talking about creating theme days that make sense for you. And so that's basically, we're going to group similar tasks together, and based on all of those tasks, that's going to be the theme day. So for example, if Saturday you're doing a lot of things with your husband, with your children, or just self-care, self days, and all of those things, then we're going to theme that day either family day, self-care day, that kind of thing. We're also going to be talking about how to align your priorities with your goals. That's basically what we're here for, right? The whole main idea and the core concept of this webinar is to figure out how we're going to align your goals with the things that you're doing every single day. And so we know random tasks aren't going to get you where you want to go. We know that. And so in order for us to actually arrive at our final destination, we need to make sure that we're taking the right turns. We need to make sure that we're following the instructions. We need to make sure that we're hitting the target, okay? And then another thing that we're going to talk about is how to be intentional moving forward. And so I can give you the strategies. I can give you the step-by-step playbook on what you need to do to have a very aligned week and begin to maximize your time and boost your impact. I can tell you all of those things. But let's be honest, you're not just here to learn, you're here to implement. And so we're here to make changes, because guess what? Every next level is going to require a new you. And I'll explain about that more later. Okay, let's get real about something. Time is a hot commodity, right? And I understand that your time is precious and you cannot afford to waste it on things that doesn't matter. And so we're going to be talking about managing your energy, because I believe that time management is actually energy management. Okay. And so we're going to be talking about getting laser focused on what matters and actually achieving those goals you set. And yes, we'll also talk about making it all work together: your business, your personal life, all of the things. So get ready to align your tasks, your goals, your priorities, so you can maximize your time. All right, so what's deep work? Listen, I already gave y'all the gist. Deep work is not some buzzword that just came out of nowhere. It's something that you've probably done many, many times over in your life, in your business. And so think about the last time you were completely focused on something very important. No phone calls, no emails, no quick questions from anyone, no Slack messages going off. Listen, that's deep work. And it's the secret sauce for getting meaningful work done. So I want to give y'all a real example from my own strategic planning sessions, right? And so again, I'm Ebony. I'm the founder of the Empire Effect Agency. And it's a virtual assistant agency that specializes in executive assistance, online business management. And one of our third things that we used to focus on, but I don't really highlight anymore, is customer service management. All right. Every Monday, I block out hours, and I'm talking like 2 to 3, sometimes 4 solid hours in my business to only focus on reviewing and planning. And so last quarter, I needed to completely rethink my business, right? I needed to rethink my strategy for growing my business, all of the things. And instead of trying to squeeze in, planning sessions, back end management, all of the things in between client calls, in between other things that I had going on, I decided that I was going to literally master deep work. And so I understood that instead of doing it bit by bit, which never really works for me, I wanted to do deep work. Okay. And so here's exactly what happened. So I strategically used ChatGPT, okay? And I used it to create my agenda for each of my strategic planning sessions for my business for the month. And I knew if I could use ChatGPT with the right prompt and with the right information, instead of me wasting time trying to critically think about everything that I can do and making sure it's organized and structured and it all makes sense, I just put all of the things in ChatGPT, asked it a very detailed prompt, and it began to map out an agenda that aligned my business vision with my business mission and with my business top 3 annual goals, right? And so I turned off my phone notifications. I set up my home office. And I only use my laptop, right? And guess what? Sometimes I do it in bed to avoid waking up anyone in the house, right? Not only do I have my laptop, I also pull up my PM tool because I literally maximize my tool. Everything is in there. All of my to-dos, all of my business goals, all of my financial information. I use my PM tool to literally organize and map out everything. I also pull up my agenda for my strategic planning sessions, and I spend those few hours mapping out only what the agenda tells me to do. And so there's no distractions, and I make sure I do it during a time where my household is asleep. Those are my best times to do focused work. And so by the end of all of my strategic planning sessions, or what I call TCEO planning sessions, I have completely strategized or mapped out a part of my business, whether that's a project that I'm working on, a big task that I need to focus on, or even if something, a client project, whatever it is, I usually use those times to literally focus in. And it's usually not client related. It could be me strategizing for Q1, Q2, me mapping out my social media strategy plan, whatever that is for me, whatever my agenda is telling me to do, that is the one thing that I'm focused on during that time. And so one day it could be financial review, one day it could be marketing strategy, another day it could be turning my annual goals into quarter goals or monthly goals or weekly goals for the next quarter. Recently I've been focused on just tracking my KPIs and my metrics that I wanted to follow and hit this month. And so you could even do it for, like I said, a particular project, a launch, an offer that you're working on. And that's the beauty of deep, focused, and aligned work. But I know what you're thinking. Ebony, that sounds great, but how do I actually make this happen? The concept of deep work is clear, but my problem is with actually doing it, right? So if you're listening to this, one of your things is probably one of the things you may struggle with is execution or implementation. You may be someone who, like, you can come up with all the vision, you can come up with all of the strategy. You're a person who's like, hey, I'm a go-getter. I like to be able to convey what I need done and have somebody do it, right? That's probably what you're good at. Me, I'm very good at execution, but I'm also very good at the vision work, the strategy as well, right? So I just took the DISC assessment recently, and I'm actually a very high hunter, but I'm also even higher than hunter is a builder. And so D and C, and no, let me see, DISC. So D, S, and C are my top 3, and they're all like head for head, basically. Okay. So you want to figure out how to actually execute. I got you. Here are 3 strategies that I actually do and that actually works in my life. First thing first is the power hour method. And so you may be like, hey, I'm not trying to go into so much detail and map out my week, but I just need a few strategies that I can start with. Okay. These are your 3. One is the power hour method. And so this is when you pick your most energetic time of the day. For me, that time is 5 a.m. And if it's not then, it's probably after 10 p.m. Okay. And so you're going to pick your most energetic time of the day, the time that you know like you're energetic, you're focused, like you're wide awake. You can literally critically think and all of the things, right? And you want to set a timer for 60 minutes because it's a power hour, okay? Set your timer for 60 minutes, or for some of you who are like, I don't want to commit to 60 right now, you can start with 25. Okay. You're going to put your phone in another room, and I'm serious, another room, especially if this is a distraction for you. Then you want to begin to close all your tabs. If you're that person who has 50 tabs open, or if you're that person who has 4 different browsers open with 10 tabs each, like, let's shut them down. You're going to close every tab except for what you need. And this is going to be your power hour. And you're going to use it for your most brain intensive work, like strategic planning, grant writing, content creation, whatever that thing is for you that requires a lot of your brain capacity or mental capacity, you want to do during this power hour. The second thing is the no meeting Wednesday rule. Now, for you, it may be Friday. For you, it may be Monday. But you want a no meeting Wednesday rule where you're going to block out one full day. If you can, try to get 2 in there, where you're not doing client calls, you're not doing team meetings, you're not doing any quick chats, you're not in Slack all day following up, you're not on Voxer going back and forth with people. No, you're going to block out one full day, and this is going to come your deep work day, okay? And so I want you to guard this day like it's gold, because it's going to be gold, okay? And then the third thing, the clean slate method. And so this kind of goes hand in hand with the power hour method, because you're going to be doing some of the same things here, except it's not limited to an hour, right? The clean slate method is when you're literally, let's say you have an office space in your home, or you actually have an office space somewhere else outside, right? This is when you're going to clear everything. I don't know about y'all, but clutter literally causes me not to be as productive as I would like. And so for you, if you're like that, you may need to clear off your entire desk, make sure everything is clean, organized, and in the right place. Then you're going to close all of your notifications. For my moms and caretakers, I know the first thing you're going to say, well, my children are in school, my children are away, and I might need to, be on standby in case the school call, all of the things. Listen, I get it. So put your phone on D&D. And if you know, D&D has a setting where you can allow certain numbers and contacts to override do not disturb, right? And I'm questioning that because I have my mama and my husband on that where they get to bypass it. But it's like something in them triggers that when it's time for deep work, they start blowing me up. And I don't understand. Anywho, you want to allow certain contacts if you need to do that. It's totally understandable, right? And then you want to have a specific focus written down. So that could be your big rocks. And for me, big rocks are literally like my top 3 things that I need to get done either for that session or for that day. Or, like I said, you can use an agenda like me. I use ChatGPT for it to create mine. You may be able to just map yours out in a quick 5 to 10 minutes. And another thing that you can do during this clean slate method is use noise canceling headphones if you need it. If you're someone who's like, the sound of a dog barking or the sound of the lawn being mowed outside is a distraction for me and it causes you to get sidetracked, listen, you may need to invest in some noise canceling headphones, because the key here is going to be removing every possible distraction before you start. Okay. And so I literally use these strategies to write my books, to plan my business, to create content. And here's what's wild, y'all. When I stick to these deep work sessions that I'm talking about, and I just talked about the one specifically for my TCEO planning, but when I use these strategies for all of my deep work sessions, I get more done in 1 to 2 hours than I used to get done in an entire day of multitasking. I would be that person, be like, people like, girl, what you do this week? I don't know. I did a lot of stuff, but I can't tell you what I did. That's when I say I get it, I get it. And so mastering deep work has helped me so much in my business, in my personal life, in my family, like even putting my children on a structured plan and getting my husband to, come aboard. Listen, deep work. My husband is even implementing deep work. So he's achieving his goals as well. All right, so enough about deep work for now. I want to talk to you all about theme days. And so theme days are going to be very important. If you're someone who likes organization, you're like someone who likes to be, you like categories and things of that nature. And theme days, they're very simple. This is where it gets fun, at least to me, okay? And so imagine you know exactly what you should be focused on each day of the week. There's no more Monday confusion, no more, waking up and saying, I hate Mondays. None of that. Monday morning confusion is what we're tackling in this session. And I'm going to show you how to set these theme days, in a way that actually makes sense for your life and your business. So I want to show you exactly how this works in my life, right? And so this is my Align Week calendar. This is also the template that I usually use for anyone who books a session, my Align Week session with me. And so you'll be able to see how each day has its own focus. And let me see if I can write on this. I don't know if maybe you can see my screen. I'm not sure. But each day has its own focus. And so you'll see the time blocks. They're not rigid. They're realistic. Okay. And this is what works for me. I was on a call with someone recently, and she was like, her day starts at 4 a.m. and it may end at 1 a.m. Okay. And so then we just adjust the time blocks, right? And so you have to do what works for you, your family, your business, all of the things. But I'm going to show you how to create your own version. And actually, if you go into the description of this video, you'll be able to download this exact one. And the blanks for the themes and the time block categories will be blank, so you can just fill it in yourself. And you can edit this to however you like. You can add your time slots, all of the things. If you're someone who's like, hey, I don't need 30-minute blocks, I need 15-minute blocks or 5-minute increments, you can edit it for your liking. All right. And so once I map it out here, I also transfer it to my Align Week calendar in Google. And I do that because it's going to save me time. And of course, if you need to save more time, you can do it directly in your calendar. I use Google. There's people who use Outlook, whatever tool you use for your calendar management, boom. And if you use a planner, you can also do it in your planner. And so on Sunday, you see Saturday and Sunday, that's usually church, family, self-care days. On Mondays, like I said, I'm focusing on the internal side of my business. On Thursdays and Tuesdays, that's usually client work. I'm focusing on client work. And these themes are going to align with my deep work sessions as well, and the other things that I'm doing throughout the day. Now, if you see Wednesday, it says ad hoc. What does that mean? For me, if you remember, one of the strategies that I gave you was no meeting Wednesday, the no meeting Wednesday rule. And so, like I said, for you, it could be a Monday, it could be a Friday. For me, I'm going to make sure that my Wednesday is not packed with a lot of meetings for clients. It's not going to be packed with a lot of meetings for all of the different things that may come up. Why? As a mom, as someone who does ministry, all of the things, I need to make sure that I have a day where I can literally focus on deep work, and that I have a day that's a little bit flexible, right? So Wednesday is like a flex day. I might not have a lot of meetings, so it's a lot of openings. So let's say someone's like, hey, I want to have let's go do lunch. Like, let's say one of my best friends say, hey girl, I'm about to come to where you are. Let's go do lunch. And if it's Wednesday, I'm like, okay, cool. If it's another day, boundaries. Okay? Boundaries. And so this is what mine look like. And then if you go over to my left-hand column by the time slots, you'll recognize that from like 5 a.m. to about 10 a.m., That's usually time where I'm focused on quiet time, self. So that may look like exercising, anything that I need to just quiet time. My Bible time, reading, prayer, all of that goes in that moment. And then if you saw like the breakdown of everything, you will also notice that at a certain point it turns into like morning routine. And so that's me and the boys. We're doing all of the things that we need to do to get ready for our day. Then you will have a certain section where I'm like, okay, this I'm during this time period, it's all about work. And then I know for me, I have a block in between work where I have to stop and focus on family. And then I get back to my work once everybody is settled down. And then at a certain point, I cut off all things business. And then I actually do family and household. And then after that, when all of the boys are down for bed, then I can focus on self again. I might do some other deep work sessions for things that I need to add in. And then I also make sure I'm spending quality time, date time with my husband as well. That's what mine is looking like. And so, of course, yours may look like something totally different. But I want you all to take some time to map out what your theme days would look like. And you can do this for Sunday through Saturday like me, or you can do it for Monday through Friday. And so I want you to write out 5 to 7 theme days. And you can take about 3 to 5 minutes to do this. Of course, I'm not going to stop this video, but make sure you pause the video and make sure you're actually getting this done, because it's going to help you in the long run. And don't worry about getting it perfect. This is like your first draft, right? And so you're doing this now, but in a week or in a month, something can change. You can come back to this and be like, oh, I changed my mind. Or when you start getting to the intricacies of actually developing out what your day look like, you may be like, oh, well, I wanted this to be my client day, but actually something else is happening. All right. I also wanted to share with you all a few examples of what you could be thinking about, because I don't want you to get stuck here and be like, well, I don't know what I want my theme days to look like. I don't know. Here are some examples. And of course, it's whatever you want it to be. It can be family, church, self-care, administration, operations, appointments, faith related, ministry related, friends related, social related, fun related. You may be like, I want a free day and I don't want to do nothing. I just want to recharge. I just want to relax. I don't want to have any responsibilities. Cool. Then pick a free day. It may be business. It may be a specific project. Like, hey, on this day, I'm only focusing on this specific project. It could be content creation, marketing, professional or personal development. It could be a team day. Whatever it is for you, I want you to choose your 5 to 7 and make sure you choose which day it aligns with. Okay, we are 28 minutes in, and I want to continue to let's keep this going, right? Stick with me, y'all. Stick with me. Now I want to talk to you all about goal task alignment. This is the thing that changed the game for me. This is the main idea behind my Align Week sessions and this webinar. Simply put, goal task alignment is making sure everything that you're doing actually matters for where you want to go. And so, those days when you're super busy, but you feel like you got nothing important done, that's what we're going to fix right now. And so think of it like this. Every task you do should be moving you towards your bigger goals. But here's the thing. Most people, they have it backwards, right? They start with this massive to-do list, and then they hope it somehow adds up to their goals. Listen, I know it don't work. I am a huge proponent of a to-do list. I'm a index card, sticky note girly. I have my notes, to-do list there. Listen, I get it. But I want to help you all move from doing it backwards, because when you do it backwards, it doesn't work out in your favor, right? And so let's break this down into something practical. Let's talk about big rocks. And so I mentioned big rocks, right? Not your jury, but those non-negotiable priorities the stuff that actually moves the needle in your business, in your life. And so this is not the busy work. This not the someone asked me, so I say yes work. This is the real important stuff that has to get done or else, right? And so let's do another activity. I want to do a priority mapping activity with you all. All right. So I need you all to grab a piece of paper and let me come back on camera to kind of map this out. I want you all to grab a piece of paper. It can be a small piece of paper, a big piece of paper. You know, if you got those big sticky notes that go on your wall, you can do that. I'm not going to do it so I don't be extra on this video. All right. So you're going to grab your piece of paper and we're going to do this thing right now. And I want you to divide your piece of paper into 3 sections. So 1, 2, and 3, right? If you're someone who's like, I don't have no paper, you can do this. Go into Google Sheets and get 3 columns and you can then map this out. Don't think too hard about this, y'all. In one section, we're going to write our annual goals. Kudos for you all who already have them. But if you don't have them, you can pause this video and you can map all of this out. If you're someone who's like, oh, I don't even know where to get started when it comes to annual goals, it's okay. I do business strategy sessions or business strategic planning sessions where we can map it out. And I'll basically be asking you guiding questions to help you get your thoughts from here onto paper, right? And then in the week, I'll have you a whole entire strategic planning guide based on what we've communicated during that session, okay? But that's not what we're here for right now. But you do need your goals in order to do what we're talking about effectively. Okay. So in section 1 is going to be your annual goals. And if you're looking on the slideshow, you already know section 2 is going to be your quarterly milestones. And I'm writing it as I go with you all. And then your last section is going to be your monthly targets. What I love about this, y'all, it shouldn't take long. Most of us, we know exactly what it is we need to do. We know what we need to focus on. We just got to do it. Okay. And so now we have our paper, we got our 3 sections. And then from there, well, let me just break down each section. So our annual goals. These are your big dreams for the year, right? The ones that make you a little nervous, but also make you super excited. Then we got our quarterly milestones in the middle. And this is what needs to happen in the next 90 days to move you toward those goals here, right? So to move you toward your annual goals, you need your quarterly milestone goals, right? And then section 3 is your monthly targets. And so let's say, for instance, for the purposes of this video, I got my 3 annual goals. Then I have those goals broken down into quarterly goals. And then I'm going to hone in on quarter 1. And then I'm going to do my monthly targets for January, February, and March, right? And so we can do this together, but I'm going to allow you to pause the video to do this right now. I'm telling you guys, if you do it right now, it prevents you from being like, oh, I'm going to do it later. That's going to cause you to procrastinate. But if you pause the video and do it right now, perfect. If you've already had an aligned week session with me, we've already mapped this out, or especially if you've done the strategic planning sessions with me, you've mapped this out. Boom. So now we know what our annual goals are. We know what our quarterly milestones are, and we know what we're doing for the next 90 days. Okay. Boom. Quick tip. Don't worry about trying to get it perfect. We can always go back and adjust later. As we begin to go throughout our months, one of the things that we're going to make sure we're focused on is our follow-up, that we're checking in on the progress that we're making toward our goals. And if we see come March, the end of March, that we have made no progress, now we need to reevaluate what happened. What did I do? What didn't I do? What resources do I need? What are the bottlenecks that is causing me not to be productive or causing me not to move forward in reaching my goals, right? And so if you have them down, written down, then we're going to keep going. And I want to tell you all how to make sure that you're staying in alignment, right? Because you can have all of this stuff, but like I said, every month you need to be checking in with yourself, with your progress. All right, and I'm going to hop back off of here. And so, are you in alignment? Now, this is where people mess up. They create these beautiful plans and they never check if they're actually staying on track. And so, these are 3 questions that it literally can save you hours of wasted time and energy. And so, question 1, does this priority directly support my annual goal? So, as you're tracking all of these things every month, even as you're planning out your deep work sessions, all of the things, when you begin to map out your week, you want to begin to ask yourself, okay, I just added, I got a self-care time block Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I only have one time block for me to strategically plan for my business. I need to see if that's in alignment, right? Or you may be like, I'm going on this girls trip and I know I need to focus on my goal. I know I haven't been reaching my goals, but I'm going on this girl trip because self-care. And you need to know, is this a priority and does it directly support your goals? Because you don't want to later be like, oh, I should have never went on that girls trip because I didn't reach my goals for the year. Right? Because of fear of missing out, because of the shiny object syndrome. We don't want to do that. Okay. And so, does this priority directly support my annual goal? Is something you should be asking yourself. If you can't draw a straight line between what you're doing and where you want to go, it's probably not a priority for you right now. And then, question 2, is this the most impactful use of my time and or my resources? And I want you to be honest, because sometimes we pick tasks because they're easy or they require less resources or less mental strength and not because they're important. And so, quick example, the other night, my husband, he began to put on clothes to go to our storage to grab a few books that I wanted to read this year. And I'm like, I asked him, and not at that moment, but before, I was like, hey, matter of fact, it was the day before. I was like, hey, I need you to go to the storage unit and I need you to grab me these 4 books. And so last night, the boys were down. He was like, oh, I'm going to go to the storage unit. I'm about to get your books. Now, me, when the boys are down, that's deep work time. Like, hey, you know how much we can get done. You know, it's a lot of different things during that time, but I usually spend at least 60 to 90 minutes, if not more, to focus on something that's deep work, right? Outside of like hubby time, outside of like me dealing with myself. No. And so while him going to get those books aligned to one of my personal development goals, I understand that when I say this deep work thing or goal task alignment works, I enforce it with my husband as well, right? And so I knew that at that moment, this was a time that he could focus on deep work. All of the boys were asleep. And so I began to help him naturally realign his priorities. And so while I appreciate the thought, I knew that he could invest his time more wisely and more aligned. And he did. He ended up getting a lot of things done while the boys were sleeping. He actually stayed up longer than me doing the things because now he's operating in purpose. He's moving and he's moving in alignment with the things that he has planned for the year. All right. Question number 3. What could I eliminate or delegate to make room for this task? Okay. This one's my favorite, y'all, because if you know me, I'm a big proponent of delegation. And so I also understand that this is going to force you to be real about your capacity. One of the things that I delegated around the house to gain an extra even 10, 15 minutes of my day. You might be like, girl, what's 10 to 15 minutes? These 10 minutes and 15 minutes add up, okay? For one, it's a buffer time in between your meetings. It could be a time where you're like, hey, I'm going to go outside for a walk if you need to get your steps in. So much you can do in 10 to 15 minutes if you maximize it. Okay, and so my son, he's older now. we're working on getting him more responsibilities, and we've started to implement chores, right? One of the things I realized, hey, why are we sweeping the kitchen? Why are we sleeping? He can do it himself. He's very capable. And so one of the things that I delegated around the house to gain an extra 10 to 15 minutes was sweeping the kitchen. Now we got hardwood floors everywhere. We don't have carpet. And so everything requires sweeping. And so he began to sweep the floor. He actually loves it. Now, randomly, he's going in the kitchen. He's going to get the dustpan, the broom and the dustpan. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm sweeping up this floor. Oh, okay. But now I no longer have to think about sweeping. And so, what can you delegate? Whether it's a chore to your children, if you have children, whether it's something you and your house can split up, like, hey, for me, I can go and I can plan out the family's meal prep plan for the week. My husband, he can go sometimes. He can go and buy the groceries, or I will also order them for pickup and he'll go pick them up. Right? How can you save time? How can you delegate? Or how can you think about these tasks in a way like, is this even important? Is this a priority, or can I just get rid of this altogether? And so those are the three questions that you need to ask yourself to make sure you're staying in alignment as you're mapping out your week. All right, give me 10 to 20 more minutes and we're going to be done, because I'm shooting for no longer than an hour. Okay, boom. So let's talk about maximizing your impact and how the biggest possible impact you can have is with your time. I'm going to show you all this thing called the Eisenhower Matrix. And don't worry, it's not as complicated as it sounds. And so it's simple, right? If you want to know how you can achieve the greatest possible positive effect or influence from an action, initiative, or strategy, this is it. So imagine there's a square. It's a big box and it's divided into 4 parts like you see here on the screen. And let's say you have your to-do list, because you love a good to-do list. They make you feel very proud and they make you feel like you got a lot of stuff to do, all of the things, right? And so you begin to organize these into corresponding boxes. So you may be like, oh, I need to do some social media engagement. And then you begin to see, where can I place that? Think of like a drag and drop, where you got your to-do list and you're dragging it to each of the 4 corners, right? Let me tell you how it works. As you can see, the orange box is for tasks that are important and urgent. For those particular tasks, you want to stop, drop, and roll. Not necessarily, but you want to prioritize those. Those are the things that you're like, I need to do this now. These are usually the things that are going to end up on your daily big rocks. So when you're trying to map out, okay, what are the 3 things I need to prioritize for the day? It's probably going to be in this orange box. And then you have the important tasks, but they're not urgent. This is the dark purple box. And so these are the tasks you can decide when you need to get them done. These are the tasks that you can schedule. And so you may not be focusing or prioritizing them today or right now during your deep work session or during your day. But these are the things you're like, hey, I'm not going to work on this today, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it by the end of the week. These are the things when you're feeling very productive and you knock out all of the things in the do this now. Now you can move forward and start knocking out the task and the decide when. Okay. But this is not to be used for procrastination. Listen, because I know how we can get sometimes. The third box, your little turquoise bluish green block. These are for tags that are not important, but they're urgent, right? These can look like inbox management, appointment and meeting scheduling. And I know you're probably thinking like, girl, that is important to me. But what I mean is it's not as important as what you're putting in the do this now or the decide when column. And these are the things you can delegate. And so everything that you put in this box, you need to be figuring out, Who can I delegate this to? Do I have an assistant? Do I have an ops person? Do I have a family member? Right? And in your last box, you have the tasks that are not important and not urgent. These are the things that are either unaligned and will be a time consumer. And these are the tasks that won't necessarily move the ball forward towards your goals. Get it? All right, and quick heads up, I have created a weekly planning template for you that makes this super easy to implement, y'all. The link is going to be in the description of this video, so make sure you go and grab it. Also, for those of you who like to work with me to get this done, I also sent over my Eisenhower matrix template so you can start organizing and categorizing your running to-do list. All right, now let's talk ROI. And I don't just mean money. We're talking about return on your time and energy too. So, for every major task that you're considering, I want you to ask yourself, what's the actual impact of this versus the effort it requires? And so, if you're spending a lot of your time and a lot of your mental energy, how much impact should you be expecting in return? What's your return on your investment of your time, on your investment of your resources, on your investment of your mental capacity, on your investment of your emotional capacity, all of the things? What's that return? And so, a rule of thumb is for the tasks or meetings that are important but generate little impact, consider delegating it to your assistant if you have one. For the meetings, you can even send your AI note taker instead if you're fancy. All right. For the tasks or meetings that aren't important and generate no impact, deny it. And this is where boundaries will come in place. But I'll talk about that in the next slide. All right. So this is the goal, right? The goal is to work smarter, not harder. And here's just some real talk. You can't do it all. And it's okay. It really is. So let's break this down into 3 parts, right? As you can see, we're going to talk about delegation, setting boundaries, and implementing productivity multipliers. And so what do I mean? When it comes to delegation, if someone else can do it as 80% as well as you, let them. Your job is to focus on the things only you can do. And if you need them to do it as well as you, because you might be like, girl, 80%, because then I'm going to have to micromanage. I'm going to have to hold their hands, all the things. But if you need them to do it as well as you, send them a detailed and clear SOP to follow. Record a video of you doing it and say, hey, I need you to do this for me every week on this day. I need it done by this. Okay, y'all. Boundaries. Y'all, boundaries is literally one of those things that is the bottleneck for people. When people are trying to figure out, like, why I don't have the time in my day, why I'm not being productive, why I'm not reaching my goals, 7 times out of 10, I'll say, this is not me doing backed up research. Guess, based off of the people who I've worked with and had conversations with, right? 7 times out of 10, if not more, the issue is a boundary, right? You need them. And so what does that mean? That means no more answering client messages at midnight. It means no more saying yes to every request that comes your way. It means turning down some things like, girl, no, you don't need to go on that trip. No, you don't need to go to that meeting. No, you don't need to go to that store. Right? Because guess what? The fear of missing out is real. So is shiny object syndrome. But if you realize a lack of boundaries literally it's like a time drainer. And so if you're someone who's like, man, I don't know where my day goes, you don't have structure, you don't have a plan, you're just literally walking around aimlessly with no vision in sight. You know some things that you want to accomplish, but you're not being intentional or strategic about getting there. And it's probably because you lack boundaries. And it's not, oh, you just saying no to everybody else. That's boundaries with yourself. Like, do you have boundaries with yourself? Like, girl, you said you was going to wake up and go work out, but you keep saying no to work out, yes to more sleep. You keep saying no to focus on your business, no to writing your book, and yes to Netflix. Whatever it is for you. But I didn't come here. I'm not trying to step on nobody's toes, okay? Let me get back to productivity multipliers. These are the things that help you get more done without working more hours. What do I mean? This may look like batching similar tasks together, right? And using templates for recurring work. So for me, a productivity multiplier is going to be a canned email response. That means I'm not having to retype an email every single time. The template is there, I fill in the blanks, and let's move forward, right? A productivity multiplier is having automations and systems in place that doesn't require you to actually do the work. A productivity multiplier is you having an agenda for your meetings and for your deep work time, because now you know exactly what needs to be talked about in the meetings. You know what exactly you need to be focused on during your deep work periods. And now anything outside of that is a distraction, right? Anything else, it needs to be put on the parking lot. If you know, you know. And so one of the things, it's optional, but one of the things that I do with my clients or anybody who books a My Align week session with me, we'll map out their week. We'll go day by day, all of the things, hour by hour, and we'll come up with a plan, right? For their aligned week. From there, I will take what we worked on, the template that's available to you in the description. I'll take that and then I'll go and add it to their calendar. Like I said, it's optional. So if you want to give me access via LastPass or what have you, you give me access. I'll add it to your calendar. And one of the things I like to do is create, if you're like one of my retainer clients, I'm going to detail list out what you should be focused on during these sessions, right? Based on the goals that you've communicated, based on the things that you do, all of the things, I'm going to map out, hey, this is what you should be focused on during these sessions. Same thing. If you're like, hey, I'm on this call, we ended early. Let's go ahead and give me your password access to your email. I'll set it up for you. And then I'll go in the description of the calendar for that deep work session. And I'm going to tell you all of the things that you can be focused on. Like, hey, you said marketing. Okay. This is a 2-hour block for the first 30 minutes, strategy, all of the things. The next 30 minutes, email marketing. The next 30 minutes, social media marketing. The next 30 minutes, text marketing, whatever the case may be, right? And so, you know, when it comes to marketing your business, you got 2 to 4 things that you need to be focused on every time. It may not be what I just mentioned, but I'm just talking, right? Why is this important? This is going to take out the guesswork for your time. So now you're not going into the thing and you're now taking 20 minutes to think about, like, hey, what am I working on? You're not getting sidetracked on social media, none of the things. Okay. We're working smarter and not harder. All right. Let me leave you up with a few tools and strategies, and then I'm going to talk about a little bit about implementation, and we're going to wrap it up. All right. Tools and strategies. Let me share some of the exact tools I use to make all this happen. All right. And so, books to read. If you struggle with focusing or doing focused work, I want you to read Deep Work by Cal Newport. Okay. Another thing, this book that I'm about to tell you now, it actually changed how I think about my business. And so, if you're someone who just need a mindset shift, I want you to read The E-Myth, and this is The Entrepreneurial Myth by Michael Gerber. It's so good, y'all. And then one of my favorites that I'm actually focused on this year is the book of Proverbs, y'all. Listen, wisdom, it never goes out of style. And the book of Proverbs, y'all, it has so many gems when it comes to all types of relationships, when it comes to business, when it comes to being diligent in your work. And so on that tip alone, the diligent tip, like, read the book of Proverbs, because then you're going to get wisdom nuggets on things that you should be implementing in your business. For some of you, it may be just mind shifts that will happen as you read the book. Okay. Apps I use daily. My Google Calendar. I literally, in the mornings, I'm looking at that calendar. Throughout my day, I'm looking at the calendar. In the evenings, I'm looking at my calendar for the next day. Like I am always looking at my calendar just to make, like I said, if it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. So I use this to literally guide my day. For some of you, it may be Outlook or something else. Another tool I use is my project management tool, y'all. I am an Asana ambassador, so of course I use Asana. I also have proficiency in Trello, ClickUp, and Monday.com, right? So it's so many different PM tools. You got to choose the one that works best for you. And Asana works best for me, and I also use it for my clients. Another app that's on your phone that you can use is called Todoist. And basically, this is a task management app that is going to help you organize your work in your life, right? So it'll allow you to add tasks, set reminders, collaborate with other people on projects, all of the things. And they also have a free version and a version that's paid. And so obviously the free version is not going to have a lot of the features that you may need. Another thing, and let me get back on camera so I can show y'all, is the planner. Let me turn this back on. The planner, y'all. This is the planner I'm using this year. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it is the simplified planner because I truly do believe in simplicity. And so this is April, so it's not mapped out yet, but it's just a simple calendar. And you literally can do all of the things for my aligned week in here, in this space. It's not broken up by times, but you literally can plan it out. Or you can put it in this space. I don't know if y'all can see. And so, yes, y'all, a planner. If you're someone who's like, I'm a writer, I like to put my stuff written down, do that. Some of you, it may just be a simple journal. So get your journal, get your planners, get your apps, and let's get to work, y'all. Because guess what? The key is not into, like, you don't need to have 6 apps that you're working on to do this. You don't need to be reading 30 books at one time. You don't need to have 2 journals, a planner. No. Do what's work for you. Whether it's none of these things, one of these things, 3 of these things, do it what works for you, and then use it consistently and develop a habit in getting it done. And then stick with it. That's going to be the key. And as we're talking about stick with it, I want to talk to y'all about implementation. Because guess what, y'all? None of this is going to work unless you do. Like I said, I was on a line week session earlier, and literally I told her, I said, girl, we got all this done, but none of this matter if you don't actually implement, right? There's this thing called the knowing doing gap. And it's the disconnect between your knowledge that you have about anything and then the action you take. Like, you can know that if you want to see results in weight loss, all of the things that you need to actually work out, or you need to change your eating habits, you can know that stuff. But if you don't take action, it's this gap of it doesn't matter. You won't see the results, right? Right. Okay. So when it comes to implementation, I know all of this stuff sounds obvious, right? You like, girl, duh, we know this. And let me move myself so y'all can see all of the words. It's not, when people don't see results, it's not because they're not capable. Can we be real? It's not because they're not capable. It's simply because of things like perfectionism, right? I've been there. It's because of things like people pleasing. And you can raise your hand if you're guilty. We're not on camera. Or it's just not having someone to help you be accountable. Or it's you not having someone who can actually implement the things that you need to implement. And then that's where I come in, right? And so here's some barriers that you might need to overcome, because sometimes we don't even know, like, why can't I get this done? Why am I not making progress? Why wasn't I productive today? And you're thinking it's simply because you didn't have a plan. But no, you can have a plan, but if you let perfectionism creep in, You will feel like the things that you're doing is never good enough. If you're someone who's people pleasing, then your boundaries that you set for your day, it doesn't matter, because even though you know you're supposed to be in deep work session on Monday at 2 o'clock, the moment somebody texts you like, girl, you want to go out for a late lunch? You want to go with me to run some errands? You're like, oh, girl, yeah. It's a lack of boundaries or people pleasing. So every time that one person call you, whatever they asking you for, okay, I got you. Okay, let me do it right now. Right? Sometimes if somebody requesting stuff for you, you can't even, sometimes you just got to not even respond until you finish what you're doing. Right? I already mentioned a lack of accountability. Sometimes it's just a resistance to change. You've been doing something the same way for so long, you are resistant to change. And it's not that you just necessarily want to be resistant. You just, it's just like, oh, this doesn't make sense. I don't want to learn something new. I don't want to start implementing something new, but you want different results. It doesn't make sense. Another thing is a lack of clarity. You understand in your mind what you want to do, but when it comes to doing it, or even when it comes to delegating it, you're unable to clearly communicate what it is you actually want. And so, how are we going to prevent this? We're going to review our success. We're going to implement those monthly check ins. All right, did I reach my monthly goals? We're going to map out our milestones. So, in your quarterly milestone planning, you should know like, hey, if my goal is to save $1,200 in a year, did I reach all of my milestones? Did I save $100 in January? You know, another way to prevent some of this stuff is ask for help. Y'all be surprised how many people can help you or want to help you, but you never ask. And then, of course, book a My Aligned Week session. It's literally a 60 to 90 minute call. I say 60 to 90 because it was 90 minutes, but I'm trying to debate because most of the calls that I have had so far, they usually end around 60 minutes, because it really depends on, do you have your annual goals? Are you clear on what your day needs to be, or are we starting from scratch? You know? And so that's where that comes in. All right, y'all. So like I said, thank you all for joining me. And if you've gotten this far, I want to talk about my Align Week sessions. And so you may be sitting there thinking like, okay, girl, this makes sense, but I need help putting it all together. I got you. I am offering something called My Align Week Sessions, and it's a one-on-one, like I said, 60 to 90 minute call. On the thing, it'll say 90 minutes, but of course, if we end early, you can't prepare, right? And it's this 90-minute call where we take everything that you've learned today and we create this custom plan for your specific situation, for your specific dynamics. But instead of doing it yourself, you're actually getting support from someone who has done a lot of these and who has done this in her own personal life, in her business life, all the things. And I'm going to be there so you're not getting sidetracked, so you're not getting distracted. And I'm going to walk you through it step by step. I'm going to guide you through it. I'm going to ask you the questions, all of the things. And so here's how it works. First thing first, we'll start on the call and we'll begin to clarify your top 3 goals, right? We want to know what your immediate focus areas are. And so we're setting the vision here. And then second, we're going to audit your calendar. And so what does that mean? It's basically me asking you questions like, okay, what are your recurring tasks? We're going to put them on the calendar. What are the things that you do every day that you wouldn't normally put on your calendar? Like your morning routine, traveling, commuting, all of the different things. What does your day-to-day currently look like? What do you want it to look like? All right. We're going to identify some gaps. We're going to address any overlaps, because some of you, you're overcommitting and you have multiple things on your calendar for the same time block. And then we're going to build the strategy. We're going to use the proven methods that I've talked about in this webinar, like theme days, time blocking, prioritization, categorization, and we're going to design a week that supports your vision and includes space for self-care and flexibility. Right? I understand the importance of mental health. I'm also, by education, a master's level social worker. And so I understand self-care, I understand mental health and mental wellness, and I understand flexibility. Another thing we're gonna do, we're gonna tackle your challenges. So in your pre-booking form, you're gonna notice that I ask you what are some of those challenges that you have when it comes to your day-to-day week, right? And based on what you list there, I'm going to offer you tailored strategies that are specific to you for those time management hurdles that you shared in that pre-session form. And then lastly, we're going to implement and we're going to follow up, right? And so if time allows, we'll implement the strategy directly into your calendar. And so if you want to give me access, I'll do it for you. Of course, you can always do it on your own. This is just something that's optional. It's not really included in the price. And then also you're gonna leave with tips for ongoing success. So when I mention like, hey, it doesn't end here. How are you tracking this? How are you now going back and say, okay, did I make progress on my goals? Do I need to change this week? Because actually I got 3 deep work sessions every week for this particular thing, but I'm not actually doing them. Like there's a barrier somewhere. Right. And so I'm going to tell you how you can also work with me on that call if you choose to move forward. If you're someone who's like, yeah, I need this, but I need someone to implement not only my day-to-day map out, but also the things I need to map out. I need an assistant who can come and help me actually execute on a lot of the things that I need to get done. Because a lot of you is just the execution efforts. And so by the end of the session, you'll have a practical weekly plan that aligns with your vision. It's going to improve your focus. It's going to empower you to show up as your best self every single day. And so if this sounds like something you're interested in, there's another link in my bio in the description to book your session today, right? We don't need to hop on a discovery call or anything like that. You're going to click on the link and you're going to be taken directly to the calendar where you will be able to pick your day, your time, and you will be able to fill out the pre-booking session, make the payment, and get started. And so I hope to see you all on an Aligned Week session, and I will see y'all in other content. All right, y'all have a great one.